My name is Kat.
My name is Hayley.
And this is Night Classy, the podcast where two teachers unwind, sip wine, and discuss the topics we wish we could teach at school. What are we drinking, Hayley?
We are drinking a bougie-ass bottle of wine, but we wouldn't know the difference anyway, according
Literally
to taste.
Can't tell.
I'm not even going to front. It's a Cab Sauv. It's called Doubleback. 2011, and it's from Walla Walla Valley.
Walla Walla, Washington.
Oh, it's in Washington. Okay,
Yes.
I was going to say, or is it like California, like Waya Waya, like
No.
Spanish?
It's not. It's Walla Walla. It's from Washington. My dad gave it to us. It is a $120 bottle of wine, but I literally don't know how it tastes different than our box. So
It tastes like nuts to me a little bit. I wonder if it has hints of nuts.
hints of nut.
Anyway, it does the job. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it does. My dad came and visited last week, and he was like, yeah, like I've been listening to your podcast a little bit, and like you all have terrible taste in wine. So he brought us like 6 really nice bottles of wine to get us through for a few episodes. So.
He should get us a Wink membership.
Ooh, he should. I'll ask him.
Help me. I'm poor.
Help me, daddy.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry. That's my actual dad. No, it's not. That was a lapse of judgment. But
yeah, guys, to be clear, the bottle of wine is empty going into this episode.
Oh, yeah, it is. Well, there's still some in our glass, so it's not fully empty.
We're
sort
both
of.
right. The bottle is empty.
But one of us is more right, and it's you. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, the bottle is
we're
empty,
derailing.
but it is not all gone.
No.
It has been displaced.
Yes.
The wine has been displaced.
Yes, because matter can neither be created nor destroyed. But it can be drank into your belly.
Right, we're taking this wine energy.
And then
wine
it goes
time, feeling fine.
Ooh, we are. I am feeling fine. I'm feeling fine because it's the end of a long week.
It's Friday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I thought
you.
I thought you were gonna keep going, and then you didn't.
I
thought you were gonna thank Jesus.
Well, I
but
was
you
going
didn't,
to.
You heathen.
Yeah, I was going to, but I didn't. But I will. Thanks, Jesus. Thank you for making it Friday.
Yeah. Thank God for Fridays.
TGIF.
Oh no. Okay. Well, it was a long week for us though, because we both started virtual teaching. Well, I started last week, continued this week. You started this week though. How did it go?
Yeah, technically. I have a very small class size to begin with, just because I'm preschool special education, and thankfully they get it right and they make the ratios really small for a student to teacher. But this week I only had one student because the district is still giving out devices, and they set our start date for before when the students would actually get their devices from the district.
Smart.
So
Big brain status over here.
organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's easy to make jokes, but also I have to give credit for like us coming together. So like I can't talk too much shit, although it is like a shit show. Not even gonna lie, virtual learning is a bit of a shit show.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like make fun of anybody, but like it is a shit show, just like not because it's anyone's fault or that anyone is not trying their best, but because it's something that has never been done before.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of logistical challenges.
Oh my God. Everything is logistical. Virtual learning is
a challenge.
A logistical challenge.
Oh my God. Today, like my students were testing all day. So I just sat and it's been testing all week. And so I literally called parents from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. when school was out the entire time, and just called the parents of the kids who weren't showing up and like asking like if they're still supposed to be enrolled and whatever. And like 99.9% of the time they'd tell me that it was like technical issues and like all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like that sucks. Like your kid has been out of school for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because like this is just such mayhem. So.
Every single one of my students who picked up their device on the first day, which was yesterday, cannot log in because the devices are not working.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, I just really want to underline that we are not putting the blame on our district.
Yes.
Our district is doing a great job. It's just something that we're all trying, like, it's just a challenge we're all trying to deal with.
Yep.
And it's a big challenge.
Huge.
Yeah. Send your teacher friend some chocolate or something, because
wine. Send them wine.
Yes.
Chocolate will melt.
Okay.
Wine will be fine.
You can do both.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Compromise.
But yeah, things are going how they're going.
But we're here, and I'm really excited to record again.
Oh my God,
took a little hiatus.
Yeah, you took a little vacation.
I did. But Tommy and I went to Cincinnati. Shout out.
City.
That's where I'm from. If you don't know, I got to visit with some family, and yeah, that was pretty much it. Had some Cincinnati food. Skyline, if you have not heard of it. It's amazing. Grater's ice cream, Cloud9 sushi. I realized when I brought Tommy there how many like Cincinnati things there are. Like not just food, but like people in Cincinnati and like things about high schools and stereotypes about areas of Cincinnati. It's probably the same for all cities, but
yeah, but I also feel like, at least me, like I've never spent any time in the Midwest, like never ever been anywhere in the Midwest really. And when I visited Cincinnati with you, I felt like it was such a unique city.
I feel like it is.
It was really like it feels like a small town kind of, but then like it's in this like big beautiful city with this like cool 1920s architecture everywhere. It's a cool place. I liked it.
Thanks. I like it too. It's pretty neat. So that's what we did. And you guys went to a lake?
Yeah, we drove out to a lake. That was our big weekend. We stopped at Walmart and got stuff to make sandwiches, and then we went to a lake, and it was a lake. It's like on the Alabama-Tennessee border, and like Mississippi is like also right there. So it was like a very southern experience. It was cool driving there. We went through like all these little small towns, and we actually stumbled upon this like big like abandoned, I don't want to say insane sanatorium.
Like a sanatorium.
Yeah. And it was this huge like Gothic looking brick building, and it was like this entire like
it was like 700 acres. I looked it up.
Huge. It was like its own self-sustaining city at one point. So we drove through, even though like it said that you're not allowed to do that, but we drove through, and it was really, really cool, and had a sign out front that said like Pokemon Go players like will be like prosecuted. Like they don't want anyone in there, but we said fuck the police and went right in. So it was really cool.
That would be a cool night classy topic to be like follow up on this place.
Yeah, we were thinking about that. We did look into it because I feel like it's almost definitely haunted. Like it
has to be
crazy, and it was just like this huge abandoned old thing. So that was really cool. And then we went to the lake and had a good time. There were like 1,000 boats on the lake, and they all had Trump, Confederate, Blue Lives Matter flags, or like all three. So it was
not the incident where they not drowned, where the boats went down.
No, it was a different lake, but same weekend, I think. So it wasn't quite our scene, but
right, Bama,
yeah. But it was still nice to sit by the lake. We had a good time.
Glad. You saying that stuff about the abandoned sanatorium reminds me, when we were in Cincinnati, we drove past this like abandoned warehouse that Troy and his friends went to when he was younger.
Ooh.
And they were on the roof, and then his friends looked over and they're like, there are cops here. And Troy didn't believe them. We're like, no, there's really cops here. And so they went down and got like put in the cop car, and then Troy ended up having to collect, Troy's my brother, by the way, having to collect garbage on the side of the road for like 3 days.
Oh my
God. Good times. Okay.
I love reminiscing.
Me too. High school was so fun.
God, I don't understand how people are like, high school are some of the best years of my life.
Yeah. Why? How?
I don't know.
It was literally the worst. Like I was so insecure and had so much anxiety.
Oh my gosh, so much insecurity. Yeah. Like I always felt like everyone was watching me. They had like no reason to watch me, but I was always like fidgeting my body, like trying to figure out like the best way I could like look or like appear skinny.
It's crazy. And like nobody was watching you because everyone was scared of what they looked like all the time.
Yes, they all felt the same way.
I remember like I'd sit at the lunch table every day and be like, am I talking enough? Like, do I seem weird? Like, it's just like stressing out all the time about what other people thought of me is so stupid. If you're in high school and listening to this, like,
it gets better.
Nobody cares and it gets better. And I also teach middle school. So I find myself like telling my students this all the time because they get in fights about petty shit and they're like insecure and depressed, and makes sense because they're hormonal. I was too. Yeah. And it's just like, you can't explain to someone who's going through that like these concerns like won't matter to them in 5 years because it means so much to them. I don't know. We're going on a tangent, but
totally.
That's it's funny. Not funny, but you know.
It's laughable now.
Yes.
Not funny in general.
No, not funny at the time when I was like reading Twilight over and over to get like some endorphins in my brain.
Yeah, we laugh so we don't cry. That's
okay.
There are a lot of tears.
All right. I'm ready to move on to housekeeping if you are.
Let's do it.
Okay. So voting for Best Memphis Podcast is over when this comes out. Womp, womp, womp. But thank you for everyone who voted. We'll find the results out in a month.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Hopefully we win and don't lose to like a fucking bro-y, douchey sports podcast. That's going to be a real big bummer if that happens. So I hope you fucking voted.
Don't even fucking say that. Yeah. You're bumming me out.
Okay.
It's going to be great.
Also, quick Patreon plug. Tomorrow we're recording a Patreon episode.
Oh my God. I'm so excited for this.
I'm so excited too. We're recording with Alex, one of Alex's other clients, Edward Newby, who's a life coach. And he also hosts a podcast called Your Top 5. And we took the Strengthsfinder Test and he is going to psychoanalyze us and tell us what we're good at. So I'm excited.
I'm excited and scared. Yeah. I'm like so worried that like the things that I want to be good at, he's like, it's not for you. It's not in the stars.
He just makes that face of the cat that's in the meme that's like puffing out its cheeks. It's like,
yeah, you know. I don't know how to tell you this, but your life is a lie.
Yeah. So if you want to hear us talk about ourselves a whole lot, join Patreon at any level and you can hear that episode once it comes out this month, I think, right?
Yeah, just to fully flesh out the premise, you take the Strengthsfinder test, which has 34 different strengths, and it shows you which ones you are in order, and it focuses on your top 5 strengths. So they're going to analyze Kat's top 5 and Hayley's top 5.
I'm excited.
Do it. Go to Patreon right now. Yeah. Right now. It starts at $1.
$1.
That's for $1 you can listen to all this content.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so fun.
Freaking great. You can watch us like demean ourselves on video. There's a few videos on there that
drink some prison wine.
We weren't willing to show to the general public. So
it is all very special. It's a reason why it's on Patreon.
Yeah. So we only want people that like already like us to see this content. And I've had some people tell me that like they've had trouble finding our Patreon. So all you have to do is go to patreon.com. You can search Night Classy, or you can go to patreon.com/nightclassy, or you can click on our link tree. That link is in the bio of all our social media. And we're also going to put that link tree in the show notes. So you can click on that link, go straight to Patreon and find us there. And speaking of Patreon, we have a new Patreon sponsor who we want to shout out. His name is Victor Nugent of Tucson, Arizona. And he seems like a lovely lad. We are very grateful for him.
Yes, thank you for supporting us.
Thank you, Victor. All right. That's
XOXO Night Classy.
XOXO. Yes. Okay.
You sound like you're calling ghosts.
I don't do that to him.
I know, but if you did, that's what it would sound like.
Yeah, I just say like, "Come here, lard ass," and then he doesn't come. Yeah. Then he just like bites my feet. Okay, that's all I have. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's get to it.
Okay, what did you blow?
I have a 0.13, solid.
Ooh, and I have a 0.09. I need to catch up.
Womp womp womp. Yeah, I was
womp,
ready
womp.
to.
Wop wop wop.
Wop wop wop.
Wop. That's some wet ass wine. Just kidding. It's a little dry. dry. It's a little on the dry side.
It is, but it's like still like sweet and syrupy at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what good wine tastes like.
It's
I don't
complex.
know.
It has layers.
It's like an ogre or an onion.
Ogres are like onions.
Yeah.
Onions have layers. Okay, and they make you
Okay.
cry. Okay. Woo, man.
Wow.
Welcome to Miss Madden's class.
I'm ready.
So, after this lesson, students will be able to,
oh no.
if you're a teacher, you know, SWBAT, students will be able to,
In order to.
recall and discuss events in one of the most expensive court cases in U.S. history, the McMartin Preschool trials. And at the time that it all went down, it actually was the most expensive and longest court case to date.
Dang.
Yeah. So we're in the big boy leagues.
Ooh,
Okay.
yeah.
So today's lesson takes us back to the 1980s. Girls are fawning over Duran Duran. Families are evolving to become 2-income households and putting their kids in daycare.
And getting divorced.
And getting divorced. Freedom of marriage.
Yes.
And people have mullets. I just wrote down some trends from the 80s that I could think of.
I like literally did the same thing in my story.
Really?
Yeah, mine's in the 90s.
I can't wait. Well, ours will overlap a little bit because they were also panicking about Satan. I mean,
Yes.
to be fair, the satanic panic is sweeping the nation at that time.
Oh, yes. And it's like my favorite thing to learn about.
I know. There's so much to it.
Oh my God. Are you talking about what I think you're talking about?
What do you think I'm talking about?
I think you're talking about the thing where there was that preschool and the psychiatrist like put all yes. I'm so excited. Okay, cool. This is gonna be a good episode.
Yay! Okay, I'm really glad you know about it. So
Oh girl.
this case, yeah, I kind of expected you to, but I wasn't sure like when we talked about it a little bit beforehand, like if you had caught on to
Oh, I had
anything or not.
no idea.
Okay, sick. So I just want to start for our listeners and you, if you don't know about this, I know you're like well versed in
I'm
things
excited.
like this.
So I haven't blinked now since you told me. I'm so excited.
You're gonna end up like correcting me or giving me things. No. Please fill in details because there is a lot to the satanic panic. Like people write freaking books on this time period.
And I have read them.
Yes, I know you have. So really, to put it plainly, the satanic panic is a period in time in the 80s and early 90s where there was this moral hysteria. And it can be tracked to several different sources. There's not like an exact pinpoint that like this is what caused the satanic panic. But long story short, there was a ton of shit going down. We're not really known for being short-winded, so here we go.
Yes.
So
make it long.
And we're gonna make it long, strong,
Long and strong. The anaconda don't want none.
unless you got facts, hun.
Yes.
All right, so we all know Manson, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he was a guy who gathered people and there were cults in the late 60s. These Manson cults led to a bunch of mass murders in 1969. And so as you are when there's a bunch of mass murdering going on, you're freaked out and you're really on guard. So that's like the first layer in our onion. Okay.
Understandable.
Now, in 1969, this book called The Satan Bible by Anton Lavi, also known as Howard Stanton Lavi, I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
Basically, he's this self-appointed high priest of the Church of Satan. And he puts out this book, and basically it's just all plagiarism. It's all plagiarism, but it becomes extremely popular because he plagiarized from artists and authors like Ayn Rand. Ayn. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I knew I was not pronouncing that correctly.
I literally thought it was Ayn Rand too. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it. I've just read it.
I did a whole paper on her and her poetry in
Yeah.
high school, but it's like I never had to say it.
Yeah. You never hear anyone say it, so you just assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can own it, but just in case we do edit it, Ayn Rand.
You're like, Ayn Rand. It sounds like totally plugged in.
Right. Yeah. They're like,
Alex just says it for you while he's editing. He can't handle it. Ayn Rand.
That's my Hayley impression.
I send you my notes before each episode and I highlight the ones that I need help with so you can fill in. You just follow my notes and I do everything word for word. Anytime Kat tries to interject, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Okay. So this book, this Satan Bible is just all plagiarism, but from popular authors. So it's very popular amongst the crowds. It is considered the book of Satanism.
Yeah, you just
it's
take everything from the best authors and
you're
put
like,
it all in one.
This is the word of Satan. Follow me.
And he's like, bye, and then just shoots off on a rainbow.
Yeah, he like drops one of those little like boom boom poppers, like one of those little mini.
He's like that meme where he's sprinkling stuff on steak. That's an old meme, but you know,
the
I'm
salt bay.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, just a little bit of Satanism here. Yeah, that created a lot of hoopla around Satanism in media and just around the world. And then of course there's the film, novel and then film, The Exorcist, and it claims to be based on a true story. So people are like super freaked out about that. And in the 70s, there was a group of men, including this guy called John Todd and Herschel Smith, who they claimed that they were reformed Satanists. They're like, okay, we used to be Satanists, but we're chill now. We are like all about God and Christianity. And this really fueled this fire around the satanic panic because they're like, yeah, we saw those guys doing Satanism. It is super messed up, like way worse than you could have ever expected. But yeah, we're all good now. We're converted to Christianity, so it's all good. And people freaking loved that. They were like, heck yeah. And then there were a bunch of just very publicized serial killings in the 70s, you know, like the Zodiac Killer, Ted Bundy. Ever heard of him?
The 70s loved serial killers.
Serial killers loved the 70s.
That's more accurate. Yes.
They were thriving.
Yeah, they were living their best lives. For sure.
Absolutely. And so things are just
they were like getting it in there before DNA became a thing. They were like, let's just like do this while we fucking can.
Right. The investigators get there and they're like, oh, look at all this blood. How are we supposed to solve this crime? There's blood all over everything. It's two different types of blood.
What the fuck is that comedian's name? And he's like, investigators in the 20s be like, oh, a puddle of blood, mop it up. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
what the fuck is his name?
I can't remember either. Is it Brian Reagan?
No, it's
John Mulaney.
John Mulaney, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Mop it up. Yeah, and that lasted from the beginning of time until whenever they started using DNA. Which was when, Kat? Trivia. It's trivia night, bitches. We're going podcasting.
We know nothing. Okay, go.
Well, look it up yourselves. There was this other book called Michelle Remembers, which I feel like is just super 80s, 90s. Michelle Remembers. Yeah. Just the title of it.
Chicken noodle soup for the soul.
Yeah. Michelle Remembers. False memories of sexual abuse in childhood is what it should have been called.
Great.
But yeah, this book is written by this guy named Lawrence Pastor. He practiced psychiatry and he claims that he helped this patient, Michelle Smith, who he later ended up marrying.
Oh, no.
So there's a little conflict of interest for you. He claims that he helped Michelle recover her repressed memories. Okay. And her repressed memories were things like being initiated into a satanic cult. And that was done by her parents. And her parents and these other people put her in cages. They sacrificed animals. And I quote, they had lots of candles and chanting.
I mean, that sounds cool.
I know. I thought so too. I was like, that sounds like our house because I guess we're in a cult. But the thing about all of this was that there's no witnesses, no evidence of any of that taking place. And the book is branded and titled as a true story.
Yeah.
And Lawrence even said in like his defense, he was like, well, there would be no evidence because they were sacrificing children and cooking them up and eating them. So it's all been eaten.
And how can that leave evidence?
Yeah, there would be no evidence. It's all been digested.
Save the children.
Save the children. But alas, they could not save the children. The book becomes wildly popular. Just like the paranoia of the idea that anyone could be practicing Satanism. Your neighbor could secretly be going to these, satanic meetings and taking part in these rituals where they're sacrificing animals and sexually abusing children.
Oh my God. It's like such an exciting thing to believe.
Yeah.
Like it's like when you're like 8 years old and you're reading Harry Potter and you're like, what if this is real? Like, I want to like think that the world is this interesting. And it's fucking not.
Right. You just sent me back to 6th grade. Yeah. Like when I was reading Twilight and like, I'm like in the bleachers and I'm like looking at my two best friends. I'm like, so like there could be vampires, right? Like there could be. We can't prove that there's not.
My friend Paige in 6th grade like literally told me that like she thinks like vampires might be real because like her pillow like smelled really sweet like Edward, and she thinks a vampire like sat on her pillow.
Yeah. He farted on your pillow.
6th graders are fucking weird.
They are. Anything to escape being a 6th grader mentally. Like honestly, that was it for me.
Yeah. They're weird. I love them, but they're weird.
Yeah, they're weird. They're weird. It's a weird time in life. Like you're still a kid, but you're just on the precipice of becoming a teenager.
You're starting to look mature, but your brain is a child. So like you're getting treated in a way that you're mature and you're in middle school, but like you're a little baby who like thinks Santa and vampires are real. Like,
yeah. And
it's a weird time.
At the same time you think Santa is real, you also think that you're grown. Like you look at younger kids and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like they did this or that.
It's a very weird time.
Very weird. And that's exactly, I guess, what it was like in the 80s during the satanic panic. It was
all adults were in 6th grade.
They were all in 6th grade. What would you do if I was like, hey, I joined this club. We do like ritualistic satanic.
Oh my God, I'd be
rituals.
All in.
Yeah.
Like minus the child abuse, I would be there.
I was like, if Kat told me this, I'd be like, didn't we do that like together? Like, do you not remember the Ouija board?
I would be like upset that you had waited so long to tell me. Oh my God, if we get home early enough, we should go in the attic and play with our EMF detector.
That was a legitimate reaction. It freaks me out so much. Like it like makes my skin crawl, but I want to do it so bad. Like I want there to be something.
Yeah, me too. I want there to be something so bad, and there never is. But okay.
Until tonight.
Going down rabbit holes.
Okay. On to the next thing. So this book that is apparently like Harry Potter, it makes this guy, Pastor and Michelle, extremely wealthy through a publishing deal. They even talked about making...
his name is Pastor?
Pastor. Okay, Lawrence Pastor.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And the popularity of this book leads other people to create similar books. And so this added to this false illusion that Satanism is extremely relevant, way more widespread than it actually was. And so people started going to get trained on how to recognize satanic cults and rituals. It sounds like a multi-level marketing company type deal. Like if they were making money, which they weren't because it wasn't real. But anyway, they were told that the only way to be able to spot it would be to get educated and trained on it. So by getting educated and trained on these false happenings, it actually just backed up all these like crazy thoughts and accusations even more. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The wheel just kept on spinning. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if you've noticed this or not. Spoiler alert, there is literally no evidence of these satanic conspiracies. Crazy, right?
Crazy.
Your jaw dropped for those who can't see her right now in this moment. A sarcastic jaw drop. In 1994, a psychologist at the University of California looked at over 12,000 cases of ritualistic abuse. And can you just guess how many had proof of organized satanic rings of people who sexually abuse children?
I'd say all of them.
Well, you would be 100% wrong. 0%, which is not a thing. So there were no evidence, or there were no cases with any evidence at all. But these people are really buying into it. So I feel like this really just tells you the mindset that people were in. I mean, you already know about the satanic panic, but for those who don't, this kind of gives you a good idea of where people are at. Like, they're scared, people are on guard. Anyone could be a follower of Satan.
Yeah, you have like metal music. And like I joked about divorce earlier, but that was a real thing. Like the 80s were a time where the culture was kind of like being challenged by this generation that was born in the 60s and grew up with like all this upheaval in like the 60s and 70s. And now they're like reaching a mature age and challenging the status quo. And the older generation was like freaking the fuck out and thinking, oh, this must be Satan.
Yeah, there was... something, I can't even remember where this conversation came from, that talked about how older people, like all the older generations spanning over time, always think that the younger generations are fucking insane. Yeah. They're like, woo, these kids are crazy. Where did we go wrong? Yeah. And it's like just a cycle.
Yeah, it's just progress.
Happens. Yeah,
like
progress.
We're getting better and we're learning, and it's hard when there's younger people challenging your ideas and how you've always lived.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there was not really a lot of challenging these false accusations, though, at the time. They were ready. They had their pitchforks and they were ready to fight the good fight against Satan. And so, yeah, I mean, Christian beliefs skyrocketed even more so than they already are popular in America. And yeah, it really just became a battle. Good versus evil. People literally were like, this is angels versus demons here. Like, the war goes on.
Oh my God. It reminds me of these people today, like talking about Pizzagate and saying like Satan is in control of our government. Like, yeah, it's the same shit.
It's the same thing in the future from the 80s and even in the past, like the Salem witch trials. Yeah. I feel like it's always something.
There's always crazy. And they always have to blame it on Satan. It's not fair.
It's a scapegoat.
Satan is
could be a very nice guy. Satan is a scapegoat.
He's misunderstood.
Yeah, he's a fallen angel. Shouldn't we pray for Satan?
I think we should. We should pray for his soul.
Or to him.
Ooh, I like your style.
I mean, I'm glad you do, but I'm sure plenty of other people do not.
Sorry, not the podcast for you.
Okay, so that is the Satanic Panic, and we are subscribers to it. So I'm going to move more into our case now. So we're talking about the McMartin Preschool trials. Again, this is what drew me in. Was I didn't know anything about this case, but when I saw that it was the most expensive case in U.S. court history, I was like, what the hell? Like, why? It went on for like 9 years.
That's crazy. I didn't know it went on that long.
It went on for a super long time. Partially because there was no evidence. So they were just like trying to talk and talk and talk.
You would think if there was no evidence.
You would think. But during the Satanic Panic, they want to believe. It's believe the children, which is also like, it's a whole other thing. It's a whole other thing. But the way that we'll get into the lesson. I'll just say that. But in my research, something really cool happened. So I was looking at all these websites, making my notes, and then about, 2 weeks ago, it's like 8:45 at night, and I'm doing research, and I stumble upon this website that has a ton of information, like very specific information about this case, the McMartin Preschool trials, that I didn't find on any of these other sources that I used. And I was like, wow, this is really detailed. It's the Institute for Psychological Therapy. That's the website. And it was also peculiar because the website looked very old. Like, it looks like it hasn't been updated since like 2005. And so I was like, I wonder what this even is. And so I realized, I go to their like contact us page, and it was like run by a husband and wife duo, and they're older. And I was like, I wonder if they're still practicing. And so I was like, well, let me just see here. So I call the phone number that they have, and it's like 8:45 at night. So I'm expecting it to just go to their like business voicemail to see if they're even in practice anymore. Because this website is so old, but it had so much very specific information. And so it's ringing, and then someone picks up, and it's the woman from the website, Hollida Wakefield. And so I end up talking to this woman. Should we play the call? Okay.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Well, good afternoon.
Hey, Holly. How are you?
Yes, I was expecting your call.
So that's Holly. And that is from a scheduled interview. Basically what happened that night at 8:45 is I called her and she was like, hello? And I was like, I think I have a wrong number. She's like, well, who are you looking for? I was like, Holida Wakefield? She's like, Holida, that's me. What can I do for you?
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, well, I'm a teacher and I'm a podcaster and I'm researching the McMartin Preschool trials. And we ended up talking for an hour that night about the preschool trials, about the satanic panic. She was trained as a social psychologist and counseled lots of children and people who experienced sexual abuse and also like testified in court and things like that. And she's 81 years old this year. But back in the 80s, she was like full-fledged, like in courts and representing people, not as an attorney, but like, you know, as the psychologist. But yeah, so we ended up talking for an hour and I scheduled an interview with her. And we just talked. I got to get some insight because she consulted for the McMartin Preschool trials and a bunch of other cases because there were a bunch of other cases just like it during the Satanic Panic. We did talk a lot about the cases, but she's also a really cool lady. Like the whole time we were talking, there's like meowing going on in the background. She has 4 cats.
Aww.
And yeah, she lives on like 70 acres or something like that and like gardens. Like she's a really cool lady. But before we get into like the deep and heavy stuff, I just want to play you one of my favorite parts of our conversation about sexual education and using the internet in modern day.
Okay.
You can try this yourself with your own computer. You won't believe it, but try it.
Boy.
Go to Google, and then you know what says what next, and just type in images, blowjobs. And you will get hundreds of graphic images of blowjobs.
Oh my God. You won't believe this. No, actually, I believe it.
I know. I was like, I wonder if she's ever tried to go shopping at Dick's Sporting Goods online.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
So she's just so, like, she's so sweet and down to earth, but she's like very smart too. And I just had a blast talking with her. And she was a huge help. So that was just something fun I wanted to include at the top of the lesson. And I think we'll put the whole interview, which was like about an hour long, on Patreon.
Yeah.
So y'all can listen to that. But she did consult on the McMartin Preschool trial as a psychologist. So let's get into it. The McMartin Preschool trials, they begin with Judy Johnson, and really she's just a mom trying to make it. She struggles with alcoholism. She's later diagnosed with schizophrenia. And one day in the 1980s, she just drops her 2 sons off in front of the daycare. She's dealing with a divorce. She just drops them off. And Peggy Bucky, the owner of the daycare, sees these 2 kids outside and she brings them in, and, you know, her mom, Judy, comes to pick them up later and she can tell that she's struggling. So Peggy's like, I'm just going to give you summer classes free of charge. Like, figure out whatever you need to figure out and they can come to the preschool. Hindsight is 2020. That was a huge mistake because later on, Ray Bucky, Peggy Bucky's son, is accused of child molestation and conducting ritualistic satanic sacrifices.
The baby?
No, Ray is one of the preschool teachers.
Oh.
So this is a family-owned daycare. McMartin Preschool.
I thought you meant the baby that she dropped off was accused of doing this shit.
No, she was Judy, the mom of the 2 kids, accused Ray, one of the preschool workers, of doing that to her sons. Okay, so she accuses them. Police come around and they're like, what's up? And they arrest him. But there's literally no evidence. So they let him go. Mm-hmm. And since there's no evidence, the police are like, well, we should like probably look into this. Let's just send a letter out to the parents. And I'm not going to read the whole letter, but here's an excerpt from it. Records indicate that your child has been or is currently a student at McMartin Preschool. We are asking your assistance in continuing investigation. Please question your child to see if he or she has been a witness to any crime or if he or she has been a victim. Our investigation indicates that possible criminal acts include oral sex, fondling of genitals, buttock or chest area, and sodomy, possibly committed under the pretense of taking the child's temperature.
And you get this letter as a parent and you're like, cool.
Yeah. Like, how are you not going to freak out as a parent to be like,
Yeah.
hey, we're not sure, but we think that there's something fishy going on here.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so as you do, you panic. Police and parents freak out. They're like, oh my God, our children are like being abused. And again, just to be very clear, there is no evidence of this. And it's not true. But the panic is real. All these things in the 80s are going on. Satanic panic is just sweeping the nation. One parent on the news said, the truth about Satanism is they truly do use blood and they mix it with urine and they also use real meat, the real flesh. And this is what makes Satanism true. This is what 1,200 in the city of Manhattan Beach have told the sheriff's department.
The city of Manhattan. Real meat.
Right. Real meat, the real flesh.
The real flesh.
The blood and the urine. The horror. And it's laughable now, but they believed it.
Yeah. But like also like what are they believing? Like what does that mean?
It means
they're mixing
that
up their meat garbage.
Also, this is another thing that doesn't make sense. A hole in the accusation is that, like, if your child mysteriously disappeared from daycare and there was no trace of them, you would probably go to the police or make a fuss about it, right?
Yeah. Unless you're being threatened by Satan.
Right. Satan has silenced thou.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many parents got silenced by Satan, but a lot of other parents are creating a lot of hoopla about this, and they get the DA's office involved, and they bring in a nonprofit group called the Children's Institute International. And they are a nonprofit to help children like who have been sexually abused, things like that. And so they put Key McFarlane in charge of interviewing the children to get to the bottom of this whole thing. And she is a social worker for the nonprofit, but she's not licensed and has no medical or like psychological training.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds like it went really well.
Nope. Nope, it did not. The children were questioned so wrong. Like, I don't even know how else to put it. So many leading questions. Like, tell me more about how Mr. Bucky touched you on your penis. I mean, not that extreme, but basically that extreme. Like, extreme leading questions. And so I asked Hayley what she had to say about it, because she consulted on so many cases just like this. Play the tape.
I have had some real cases where, like an older teenage boy or someone does sexually abuse a child in a daycare. But you want to be really careful not to ask a bunch of leading questions and reconstruct their memories.
And so that's exactly what happened. They did ask leading questions, which did reconstruct their memories. There's that whole thing about, memory is just a reconstruction, right? And so they were asking leading questions. They were redirecting questions. A lot of the questions were like asking if games were naked games. They'd be like, is the alligator game a naked game? And the child would say no. And then they'd be like, are you sure it's not a naked game? And they'd be like, no. And then they just kept asking it and asking it again until the child like caught on and they're like, oh, they want me to say yes.
Because adults do that to kids all the time. I do that as a teacher. It's like they'll give me an answer and I'm like, let's think about that.
Is that the answer you want to give?
Yeah. Why did you say that? Like, it's such a like.
Right, but you have merit to do that. You know that.
Oh yeah,
the answer is this, and they got it wrong.
That's correct in school when they're giving like answers. But like kids know what you're trying to do. Like they can tell.
Yeah, they can.
Adults do that to them all the time. Yeah,
and it's not just kids though. It's especially kids. Yeah. I know. And so there aren't any interviews at all with children where they straight up say that something happened to them.
Yeah.
And Holiday was like, the best way to know if something happens to your child is if they straight up tell you.
Yeah, they're preschoolers. Like most of the time preschoolers are going to just tell you.
Yeah, they can talk.
Yeah. They can talk.
They can form thought. And there are other ways to tell if there's abuse going on. If you're concerned, please research this. Look into it yourself. I don't have any hotlines for you, and I'm sorry for that. But these kids were getting manipulated, and these were the things that like some of the kids said when they were questioned. They said that a living animal was sacrificed. They said that the preschool workers could turn into witches and that they could fly. They said that they flushed some kids down the toilets.
Sounds believable.
Yeah, there were also secret underground tunnels. Again, no evidence of any of this. Not that we, I guess, could have evidence of them turning into witches and flying.
But like, it's also crazy that it got so far. It's
Yeah.
like you can walk in there and see there are no tunnels, and like you know that you can't flush a kid down a toilet. Like,
Yeah. But they believed it.
Right.
And so that's what pushed it along, was this
crazy.
blind belief. And like there should be these carcasses and body fluids and these tunnels. They excavated the fucking lot and there are no tunnels. And so Holiday and I talked about the lack of evidence in general, just with the ritual satanic panic and accusations. And here is the next clip from the interview.
They never found any hard evidence that any of this occurred. You know, a couple of teenagers who are screwing around maybe, but these organized satanic cults and daycare, it never happened.
Never happened. But there was so much going on about it in the media, and people wondering, is my neighbor taking part in this? And so Ray and Peggy Bucky and 5 other preschool teachers at McMartin Preschool were accused and indicted on over 300 accounts of sexual abuse. So these accusations spread like freaking wildfire all over LA daycares and then all over the nation. So this is just one of many. It may have been like the initial match to really get things going. So they investigate the McMartin Preschool for 18 months. The DA states that, you know, for 5 out of 7 of those accused, there is no evidence that goes beyond just these simple accusations. And so that goes on and on as court cases do. 4 years after the initial accusation, Ray and Peggy Bucky, the remaining 2 defendants, go to trial. Now, there were hundreds of children initially interviewed for this case. 9 of them testified. So many parents pulled them out and they're like, I don't really know about this.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole time the Buckys were so adamant about their innocence because they were innocent. The trial ended up lasting 3 years. The jury, of course, found the defendants not guilty, but they couldn't agree on the 13 counts against Ray. So they brought Ray back to court. They were deadlock in jury again, which led to a mistrial.
And that was like fucking nightmare.
That was the end. Yeah. I asked Holiday, I was like, so what happens to people like when this happens to you? And she's like, it ruins their lives.
Yeah.
It absolutely ruins their lives. And one of the interviews that Ray did after all of this happened, he was like, I just want to be left alone. I just want a normal life. And that's like being famous in the bad way, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't really know what he's doing now. I think he's been able.
How sad is that? And like, there's such a stigma around men that go into, be it like childcare or teaching. And like, truthfully, like we need more males in childcare and teaching because like a lot of kids really need a male influence in their lives.
Yeah.
And we're severely lacking in that. Boys are punished at much higher rates a lot of the times because like women are the ones who are providing the care and they misunderstand boys. And unfortunately, like as a male educator, you just run the risk of being accused of something like this. And like, yes, there are a lot of predators out there, but like men are disproportionately like blamed for things like this when they're taking care of children. And it's so sad. It's a horrible risk that you run when you go into
this
as a man.
Who knows when that risk will not be there anymore. These stereotypes that exist currently.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to find an end, but He was not guilty. He has never abused children in any way. And all of a sudden, the case is done, and they're like, okay, go back to normal life. And that's that.
Yeah, and you can't.
You can't. Yeah, your life is ruined after that. And like I said before, the woman who started all of this, Judy Johnson, she struggled with alcoholism. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And so she obviously had her own issues going on.
Her own issues, but it's so sad that these people were like doing a really kind thing, like taking in her children for free.
Yeah.
And she did that to them.
This preschool was like the best of the best. It won multiple awards at the state level. They had a 6-month wait list. And by the time this was done, it was demolished. And then a laundry and dry cleaning store was put in its place.
Oh, that is so sad.
I know. It is really sad. One thing that is good, though, is that this case, when it ultimately fell apart from just complete lack of evidence and paranoia, the public also started to question the hysteria around the satanic panic and ritual satanic practices. And the way children are interviewed has also changed and evolved. Now, it's definitely not perfect. It's still far from it. But there have been some regulations put in place. Unfortunately, we still see things similar to the satanic panic today. As of recent, we have, of course, hashtag Save the Children. Yeah. And I also thought back to like 2016. Do you remember when there were all those clowns around, like people dressing up as clowns, and like people were so freaked out, like it was,
and it was
a whole
just,
thing.
It was like literally people wanting to like have a viral video.
Yeah.
That was
but
it.
It's powered by paranoia and being scared and media.
Yeah.
And that'll do it. So that concludes my lesson. I'm going to cite my sources and then we'll break. So we have the McMartin Preschool Scandal and Evelyn Hernandez Terrifying Mysteries podcast, Institute for Psychological Therapies, FBI records, CBC News, and Vox.
Nice.
Class dismissed.
Thanks, Hayley. Let's hear a quick word from our sponsors and we'll be right back.
Hey, Kat, have you ever heard of Build Bar?
You know what? I have, because they're my favorite advertiser.
Oh, wow. Well, don't you just know everything?
I do.
So, okay. Well, I guess I don't have to tell you that they have 16 grams of protein.
Oh, my God. I forgot. So I'm really glad that you told me that. You know what? They have 16 grams of protein. I don't give a crap about protein because I am a lazy piece of person and I don't work out, but I do care about my hair, skin, and nails, and Build Bar is full of collagen, which helps all of those things.
Yes, we need that because getting your nails actually done at the salon is pretty expensive.
And not safe.
And
right
not
now.
safe. Yeah, during COVID. Why not just stay home, eat a Build Bar, go to Pinterest or YouTube, get your at-home workout done so you can eat a snack, the Build Bar, and feel like one too.
Yeah, and look like one because Build Bar is awesome. It helps your muscles, your skin, your nails, and you too can do all of these things and look freaking great, just like me and Hayley, by going to buildbar.com. That is BYLD bar.com and enter promo code NightClassy for 10% off.
Do it. Yeah. Do it now.
Welcome to my classroom. My name is Miss Barnhart, and I am your teacher this year. Welcome to 6th grade. I hope you're doing well. Let's talk about the queen of the 90s. Do you have any guesses? Her name?
I would guess Princess Diana.
Okay, that's a great guess. We're not talking about Princess Diana.
Then I don't want to hear it.
Okay. Bye. Her name is Lisa Frank. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So before I forget, my sources are the New York Times and then this Jezebel article where I got like all my information. It's called Inside the Rainbow Gulag, The Technicolor Rise and Fall of Lisa Frank by Tracy Egan Morrissey. And that's a really dramatic ass name, but it was a great article.
Yeah, that sounds like something I want to read.
Yeah, you do. And I did multiple times and made these notes.
Oh
and
my
then
God,
also I supplemented it with Mental Floss, Wikipedia, and the World of Lisa Frank short film.
Wow, there's a short film?
There is. It's like 3 minutes long.
Okay, super short film.
Super short film. If you didn't know, Lisa Frank is a designer that like fucking defined the decade.
Oh, yeah. Her stickers, her coloring books,
Yeah.
rainbows on rainbows.
Rainbows on rainbows. And according to Lisa herself, what encompasses the world of Lisa Frank is, first of all, rainbows.
Yeah, I feel like if I did acid, then I'd be living in Lisa Frank's imagination.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it would be like.
It's amazing. And if you are, I don't know if there's like a generation now that's like in high school that doesn't know who Lisa Frank is.
There probably is.
There probably is.
so.
And if you don't know who Lisa Frank is, Google Lisa Frank right now and look at her artwork because it is stunning. Like, I was doing this research and there was Lisa Frank artwork like all over every article I looked at, and like it gives you an emotional reaction, at least to me who grew up coveting this stuff.
Oh yeah, thinking back, I remember I had like one of those black felt coloring books.
Oh my god, the felt coloring books.
Oh.
If you're a little baby who doesn't know who Lisa Frank is, wah, she was this artist who created basically like coloring books and school supplies for like between like 8 to 13-year-old girls, and everything was bright and so colorful,
So extra.
It had pictures of like cute animals and like cute stylized girls and candy and aliens, and it was neon and just like everything that's like quintessentially 90s.
I feel like it's like the epitome of that time right before what we talked about in my lesson where you're in high school and you're anxiety ridden.
Yeah.
It's like that period right before that.
Yeah.
Where it's
where
just
everything
so
is
sweet.
still beautiful.
Yeah.
And you just look for the beauty in everything, and like it just epitomized a 9-year-old girl's idea of beauty.
Yeah, totally.
And it was just amazing. Just 90s pop art all around. It was awesome. And so Lisa Frank was born on April 21st, 1955 in Bloomfield Hills, and which is like a suburb of Detroit. And this is a city that frequently makes the list of top 5 wealthiest cities in America with a population of under 10,000. So it was a small town,
Whoa.
but like rich.
Dang, I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
I thought rich people could only live in highly populated areas.
No, it turns out they have their own small towns that no one else can
that's
afford.
Scary.
Yeah. She was a rich girl. Her father ran an automotive manufacturing company, manufacturing company called Detroit Aluminum and Brass. And he inherited that from his father. It was a family company.
Back that brass up.
And they backed that brass up. It was the only U.S. company to make engine-bearing tanks that were used in World War II.
What other countries made them for the U.S. for World War II?
That's what I'm saying. Like, they supplied all the tanks in
Oh,
World
all
War
of them.
II.
Okay.
Not all of them.
Okay.
Like, maybe there were other countries, but like most of them. So they just amassed this giant fortune.
Okay, for some reason I thought you said one of the only. I was like,
no.
what the fuck?
Well, they were the only U.S. company. So I'm
US
assuming
company,
that
okay.
means there were other countries that did this, but like they were making the tanks
time.
that were selling to the U.S. government for World War II.
Wow.
So lots of money, baby. And by all accounts, Lisa had an idyllic childhood. She had supportive and doting parents who really encouraged her interest. Lisa was not interested in sports. She didn't care about that shit. Don't blame her.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah, sports are the worst.
Except for lacrosse.
And soccer. And so so as a little girl, she loved anything girly and hyper feminine, which is obvious in her art later on.
Oh, yes.
She was really artistic, described herself as a girly girl, and her home environment was the perfect place for this to like kind of grow.
I feel like she is a flower blooming.
She really is.
And that's her artwork. as
Yeah.
well.
Her personality comes through, and her dad was an art collector and they're rich. So it was like nice ass art. And her mom had a kiln in the basement and they would make
Oh my
pottery
gosh.
together. It was just very beautiful.
Kilns are so fucking expensive.
Do you think
I'm just like, that is what made me realize how rich they were, was the kiln.
They're very Hayley,
It's
you don't
the kiln
understand.
for me.
Well, they have everything they want. And Lisa Frank had a great childhood. She was a huge colorer. She loved filling up coloring books. She would just like color all the time. And by the age of 5, her parents put her in art classes. And when she was 12, they got her a loom and she started weaving. And later in high school, she began painting. Like art really was her life from a very, very young age, from the time she could hold a marker and color. In high school, she was painting, and she went to the same elite prep school as Mitt and Ann Romney. And while she was there, she started entering high school art shows and showing her art and selling it. And in one show, she made $3,000 as a high schooler.
Okay, that's crazy. Like, I'm sure it was good, but I feel like that says a lot. Was it for sale?
It was, yeah. When you do an art show, even in high school, typically your art is for sale.
Oh, we never... Like, we had art shows, huge art shows, but none of it was for sale.
I mean, no. I feel like in high school, like it's usually for sale for like $50 and then your grandma buys it. But like for her, like her art was selling for thousands of dollars. And one of her buyers was Lee Iocca, who was like a former CEO of Chrysler. So like she was running in these circles where like for a normal girl, like selling your art for $50 would be a big deal. And like this prep school, like she was selling it for thousands of dollars. And I think it was kind of the same thing, but like to these people, you know what I'm saying.
Right.
When she graduated high school, Lisa attended the University of Arizona.
That is a huge party school.
I know, yeah.
Why did she go there?
That's what I was thinking. Like, I don't want to like diss on U of A. Like, I almost went there. I got a scholarship, and it was between there and the school I ended up going to. But
yeah, like it looks like a lot of fun, but it's not known for art.
It's not known for art or academics or being a rich person partying. And go like so that just. I don't know what that tells you, but it's like you have this much money, you're going to school with the Romneys.
Yeah,
and then
maybe she's
why aren't you at like Harvard?
I want to see how the other side lives.
Yeah, and I don't know what exactly was going on, but she went to the University of Arizona, and I couldn't find a whole lot about her time there academically. She was an art major, and her father was supportive of her, but just like told her like, you're gonna have to find a way to make it. And she did. She started some side hustles while she was at the U of A. So
like a normal person in college.
Yeah, like a normal person, but instead of being a waitress or a barista or a nanny, she instead would buy jewelry and pottery from the local Native Americans and the Native American artists, and she would take it back to Michigan on her breaks and sell it for a profit. So
cool.
That ended up working out really well for her. And she ended up selling so much of this art that she started to give direction to the artists and like tell them what to make, what she could sell.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like a whole business.
It's a whole business. And she told them teddy bears and unicorns sell. And that's what she told. So I'm just like, I'm picturing like Native American beadwork and pottery, and it doesn't scream teddy bears and unicorns to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems a little weird.
Yeah, maybe that's just what was popular in general.
I guess it was the 80s. Like people had bad taste.
Yeah.
But it worked for her, and she ended up becoming so successful with that she started creating her own jewelry designs. And by the time she was just 20 years old, she's still in college, she started her own jewelry brand called Sticky Fingers.
Sticky Fingers.
I know, is that gross?
Nasty.
Yeah. No, thank you. And it was a plastic, like cheap kids jewelry. And I tried to look up photos of it. It was hard to find. The one thing I did find was it was like a cheap looking charm bracelet with like plastic fish charms.
Okay.
Kind of like exactly how you'd expect. Like, remember going to like Justice or something as a kid, and there's like that cheap plastic jewelry.
Yeah. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. But it became fairly successful. Neiman Marcus and Bloomingdale's carried her brand while she was like in college.
Did?
Yeah. So it worked out. And by 1979, Lisa renamed her company Lisa Frank because
Thank goodness.
I know.
What a good name.
It's a really good name. And like she noticed that like people started to recognize her name as a designer more than they recognized like whatever shit she was making.
Sticky Fingers.
Yeah. Terrible name.
Sounds like you just ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Messily.
Gross. A peanut butter and honey sandwich. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And makes your fingers sticky.
No. The taste is not disgusting. Are you saying the taste is disgusting?
I think the taste is disgusting.
You're disgusting.
Okay. I don't like sweet stuff.
Right, right. She's pure evil. Heard it here first.
You heard it here first. So she started this Lisa Frank brand, and she started to divert away from the jewelry and like lean more heavily on her drawings. And so she started making buttons and stickers. Her very first design was of a gumball machine, and things really started to take off after she received a $1 million order from Spencer Gifts.
What?
In the 70s.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I wonder what $1 million in the 70s was. That's got to be,
I don't know. I should have looked it up.
I don't know, 3 million? I don't know.
It's a lot of stickers and buttons. That's what it is.
Wow. Did she like have the production in place to fill that order?
She was working out of like this guest house. So she was renting a space. But after that, things started to go crazy. And she moved from renting her guest house to a 320,000 square foot Tucson, Arizona headquarters.
Upgrade. Let me upgrade you.
Yeah. Big upgrade. And
that's a huge leap. Like actually.
Yeah, it was like overnight. She was all of a sudden like a superstar. By 1997, the street that her headquarters was on, it was called South Masterson Ave, and it was renamed Lisa Frank Avenue.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, isn't that cool? But like
that's goals.
It's goals, but it like fucking pissed off American Airlines because their headquarters was on the same street, and now their address was Lisa Frank Avenue.
Oh my God, and they're like advertising freely for her.
Yeah.
That's like, aren't all IKEAs on IKEA Avenue or Lane or whatever the hell it is?
Really?
Yeah. They like name the street IKEA, whatever.
That makes sense. I mean, because I feel like all IKEAs are kind of out in the middle of nowhere, kind of. And
yeah.
So like they can just pretty much do what they want.
Near things, but secluded a little. We got to get a night classy boulevard.
Yes.
I want a boulevard.
Let's work on that. Donate on Patreon.
Please.
So from 1979, over the next 20 years, Lisa's brand would grow rapidly. Her most popular products, as we know, were her school supplies. So folders, pencil cases, erasers, notebooks, Trapper Keepers. Do you know what Trapper Keeper is?
Yeah, where it like clips into your binder and you can put like pencils. Trapper Keeper, like the expandable binder. Is that what you're talking about? I think of two things.
I had no idea what this was, and I looked it up, and it sounds like it looked like all the pictures were like those binders that like Velcro open and shut.
Okay, yeah.
But I think you're also right, like those binders that you pull open and they have dividers in them.
Yeah.
I think that's what this is talking about. I couldn't really figure it out.
Look at us. We're like, what?
We're like right on
thing?
The verge of like being like right where Lisa Frank was like declining. I don't know what a Trapper Keeper is, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but basically she became like a whole sensation and a household name in the 90s. And she once even said she knows how Michael Jackson feels because every time she'd use her credit card, the clerk would ask her if she was like the Lisa Frank. And
okay, that's kind of surprising. Well, actually, maybe not, because I feel like other people who are also named Lisa Frank probably got that too. Because it can't be that uncommon of a name.
Yeah, she was also probably like making big purchases. And like if you look at her, she like looks like a very like flamboyant but like put together rich lady. Okay. But also I think it kind of gives you insight to her psyche. Like granted, her name was on a lot of stuff, but like she is in no way comparable to Michael Jackson, who like is an icon and you recognize him by looking at him. Like you don't know what the woman Lisa Frank looks like. They're not the same thing.
She thinks she knows.
She had a very grandiose sense of self. And we'll talk about that a little more. So basically it was like the school supplies that everyone had to have. Their ads featured preteen girls showing off their Lisa Frank stickers and school supplies, and then they'd look at the camera and tell the camera, you gotta have it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I clearly remember this one that had like a yellow dog on the front of it, and there were like hearts on it, and there's just so much going on in her artwork. It's amazing, and it's like really good to look at in class.
Oh yeah,
there's so much to look at.
You just want it. Like it's like visual candy. Like it feeds you. And Mila Kunis in the 90s was even a Lisa Frank model. I have a picture of her right here with that yellow dog.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look
Isn't
at her.
she cute?
She is cute. Oh, its eyes, the little yellow dog's eyes. That's so funny that that's the one that I was thinking of, and that's the one you have a picture of.
It was a famous one. And like, there's a reason Lisa Frank was so successful. Like, she took painstaking interest in her art. Not only was she like extremely talented, but like she was a perfectionist. And in the beginning, like before computers, everything was done by hand with acrylic and paintbrush and airbrush. Sometimes one illustration would take 100 hours. And like, she was just like the perfectionist. And like, she even said like people had to stop her because otherwise, like after this 100 hours, she would just keep going. And perfectionism was also like demanded on the assembly line. Everything that went out had to be impeccable. They would like pull stuff if it had even the slightest imperfection. She had a special patented ink formula for all her pens so that the colors would be brighter. They were like the brightest ones on the market, and they stayed bright.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I know. Like, it wasn't just her designs. A lot of work and thought went into this.
Yeah, she had a passion for it.
She
and
did.
That shines through.
It really did. And as Lisa's company developed, so did her social and romantic life.
Ooh.
So by 1982, Frank hired her first in-house designer. So before this, she had been doing all the designing, and she finally hired a designer to help her out. His name was James Green. And soon after, he and Lisa began a romantic relationship.
Oh, it's either going to be good or bad.
Ooh,
or both.
It's bad.
Good then bad.
So by 1983, Green began moving up the corporate ladder. Shock, shock, shock.
He began doing something to the corporate ladder.
He was giving her the good, making her whop. So later, so he ended up becoming the officer of business in 1988 and was named CEO in 1992. So Lisa was the CEO.
CEO.
And then she was like, CEO, no, bitch. Like, or
Oh.
CEO, no, you're the CEO
no.
now. So she made him the CEO. And later in October 1994, Lisa and Green got married in what was called an extravagant affair.
Yeah, if I was Lisa Frank, it would have to be an extravagant affair. Like, I would have fake clouds there, not like cotton clouds. Like, I
Yeah.
would make them manufacture clouds in the atmosphere of my wedding.
Made of cotton candy,
Yeah.
for sure.
Pink.
Definitely
cotton
pink.
candy.
Yeah. And they may have had that. There are no pictures of their wedding on the internet that I could find, but
Oh, wow.
like they were extravagant people. So they were in like friggin' Tucson, Arizona. This is not an extravagant place, but they drove flashy cars. They owned a 12-seat airplane. They lived in a massive mansion in Tucson, which Lisa describes as, quote, purple and yellow and hot pink and light green and orange. But local residents call it a nouveau riche monstrosity of a house, which means basically like trashy, cheap, like new money, tacky house.
Okay, yeah, that does sound like a bit much. I think it
Yeah.
would give me a headache.
Yeah.
Insta headache.
Insta headache. And Lisa herself was very extra, as we've talked about. So like all of her characters that she draws have names, and she was asked which one she relates to most, and she said Priscilla, and that's a glamorous cat wearing diamond jewelry and a tiara, which Lisa modeled after her own jewelry that she owns.
Oh, okay.
And I have a picture of
Sure.
Priscilla right here.
Oh, yeah. Look, she's like posing and looking
Yeah.
at the camera like, I'm so cute, aren't
Yeah.
I?
She's very cute. And I
She is
remember,
cute.
I think I had the like felt coloring page of this cat, and I loved it. And she is very cute. And Lisa also says like she's most like the cat, but she's a dog person. At the peak of her success, Lisa kept giving Green increasing responsibilities at the headquarters. And Lisa had children at this point. They had children pretty soon after they married. And she kind of just wanted to spend more time at home with them. She kind of let her husband take over the day-to-day, and she also gave him 49% of company shareholdings.
So almost half.
Yeah, and
Is
I
that
think
gonna come back to bite
a
her,
whole lot.
is
And
it-
I think I skipped over this part, but like at their peak, they were making $60 million a year, and between 1995 and 2005, they pocketed $100 million from this company.
It's amazing what can happen when you have talent in a rich family.
Yeah, it is. And she just took it and ran and did great, but she gave her douche of a husband 49%.
Why was
of
he
it.
a douche?
Oh, we'll get there. So,
okay.
So according to a former employee, she just wasn't interested in being a businesswoman. She wanted to enjoy her life, which is totally fair. And she had her second son. Her sons' names were Hunter and Forrest, and they were named after two of Lisa's favorite characters that she drew, Hunter and Forrest. It was a leopard and a tiger cubs.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's cute.
Yeah, and she says that like her son's personalities like remind her of the characters, so that was sweet. And like it makes sense. She mostly worked at home and like popped into the office from time to time, like maybe once a month. But for the next 10 years, Green did as he pleased.
Oh no.
And he, quote, really turned that place into a shithole, according to a former employee named Justin. And the Lisa Frank Incorporated became famous in Tucson as the worst place to work.
Oh no.
Like
that's like so opposite of all the things her art gives off.
It was a stark difference.
No.
So the locals are like, there's so many quotes from locals that I read, like saying like how they warned all their friends to like steer clear of this place. Like it was a toxic environment. There was this massive emphasis on productivity, but it was taken to the extreme. Upper management demanded absolute silence in the office. Coworkers were not allowed to speak to one another. You had to just be focused and working the entire time. And they were also not allowed to take personal phone calls or have any visitors while they were working. And
okay.
Yeah. And to enforce this rule, management secretly recorded employee phone calls.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is so messed up.
It's real messed up. And the office ran this bi-monthly publication called Frankly Speaking. So cool pun. And they directed employees, told employees how to act, what they could and could not do, especially how to interact with their boss, James
No
Green.
way. This is like subtweeting before subtweeting was a thing.
It's bad.
Oh,
and it
no.
came out every month. It was like, this is all the shit that we saw you doing that you can't do. Like, they were so shitty.
So he had no idea how to run a team and create a good work environment.
No.
Like he did the literal opposite.
He was just a monster and created this like horribly toxic workplace. And so punishments for breaking the rules like were not consistent, and they depended greatly on Green's mood at that day. And so minor infractions, they may result in verbal abuse. He was known to just like scream at people and belittle them, or he might just fire you. So you were always just kind of walking on eggshells, like you never knew what you were going to get. And one time after finding out an employee left 10 minutes early, Green had the warehouse manager padlock all the doors shut so staff couldn't escape.
Isn't that illegal?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
And
just
they found
making
themselves
sure.
in many lawsuits. So by all accounts, it was a cold, miserable environment where employees lived in constant fear of abuse from Green. And it was said that they even like kept it at a freezing temperature so that people were physically uncomfortable as well
They
as
could
like
stay
emotionally
awake.
scared. Yeah.
That reminds me, in high school, every time like after lunch we had math, and it was always so hot in that room, and everyone would fall asleep, and she's like, it's okay, I get it, we all had lunch, it's really warm in here.
Yeah, you like it makes sense. Temperature makes a huge difference. We had portables. Did you have portables at your school?
Oh God, yes. Like half
Yeah.
the school's portables.
Same. And they were always like either fucking hot or freezing cold. There was
no regulation of the temperature.
The worst.
I'm not sure they even tried, actually.
No, they didn't try. And my high school, like, granted, they rebuilt it right after I left, but like it
Same.
was right. How fucked up is that? But it was built in the 1960s, and it was an open concept high school, which means that like all the doors open to the outside. You always had to walk outside to get to your class. And we live in fucking Washington State where it
That's
rains
so stupid.
every day. And so you'd have to walk in the rain to get to your classes. And then the classrooms would flood because there was no drainage. So they were just like flat and the water would just go right into your classroom.
They just didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
No thought. So did you
No.
just wear a raincoat every day?
Yeah. You had to wear like a parka to school.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was, like, not only was it raining all the time, I lived in the mountains. So it was like fucking freezing temperatures. If it wasn't snowing, it was pouring rain and freezing cold. It was
like
the worst.
masks now. People have those cute masks and you had a cute parka.
Yeah, it sucked. You'd wear like a cute outfit to school and then have to cover yourself in like a 1,000 North Face jackets. Okay. So like you said, Lisa Frank Inc. broke the law lots of times. They found themselves in lawsuit after lawsuit. So they failed to give promised severance packages, unemployment benefits, final paychecks, sales commissions. And so they were just being sued by former employees left and right. They were also sued for over $4 million by contractors and builders who they just like didn't pay.
Whoa, that makes me so sad. I would have never thought this was the fate of Lisa
know.
Frank.
It's fucked up. And like I decided I wanted to do Lisa Frank because Alec and I were talking about her in bed one night, like about her art and how cool it was. And I was like, oh, I'll do a night classy on that. And so I'm like, how fun would it be if I like bought a Lisa Frank t-shirt and like did my night classy in that? And I looked at the t-shirts and it was going to be $12 shipping. And I was like, oh no, thank you. And then I did this research and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't give them money.
Yeah, that's a big yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like her husband. What's his name? Something Green.
Yeah, he was definitely
the
the worst. Definitely worse than her. And so, not shockingly, they had like a huge employee turnover problem, and so they could never keep enough staff. Green was needlessly cruel and led by intimidation. He'd have these violent outbursts of rage and like just scream at and belittle employees. And he was also just like a straight up bully. Like even when he was calm, he would bully people. He purposely didn't learn employees' names and would make up his own nicknames for them.
Purposefully?
Yeah.
That's like Michael Scott in that one episode where he's like, you don't have hair, you're bald guy.
Yeah. The one where like the new employees come from like the branch that got closed.
Yeah,
And
no, when he's visiting the other branches.
Yeah, and he's like doing the like a mnemonic device to
Right,
remember
yeah.
people's names. Okay, yeah. It was like that, except he was like worse than Michael Scott. Apparently, according to one person, there was like one woman in the office who was like a bit overweight and like not conventionally attractive, and he called her that guy.
Oh my God.
He was just an asshole. And not only was he an asshole, he just like personified an asshole. So he always reeked of cologne. He was short and had this like huge complex about being short. He had short man syndrome, and he like apparently wouldn't allow female employees to wear high heels.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No freaking way.
Yeah. And his reason for that was that they couldn't walk fast enough to keep up with him. And it's like, that is just such bullshit.
Oh, no. Oh, what happened to him? Who hurt him?
I don't know. And I don't care. Like, he sucks so bad. I don't even care what happened to him.
There's my empathy kicking in. I know. And your lack thereof.
But like when people are this awful, it's just like, come on, like at least try. And like Green was definitely the main problem, but Lisa, she was not innocent.
Dang it. I want her to be innocent
I
so
wanted
bad.
her to be innocent, but it is reported that Lisa was also known to scream at sales managers, and she would threaten their lives if they messed up a presentation. And it does sound like she was under a lot of stress, obviously because of her abusive, crazy husband. Former employees remember feeling fear every time they heard Lisa's voice over the loudspeaker, because like they were so often like called into her office and verbally abused by her. At the very least, Lisa does acknowledge her own bad behavior. There's this story online where she ran into one of her former workers who she had fired for talking on their phone to their dad during work. She fired them for that. And she ran into them, and the old worker was like, hi, like, Lisa, do you remember me? And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I wasn't a great employer.
Okay, that's good. When you can reflect and have some self-awareness.
Yeah.
That's good at least.
Yeah, she definitely had some self-awareness, whereas I don't think Green really did. And like Lisa, like by all accounts, she was not cut out to be a businesswoman. Like she much preferred to kind of be at home with her family. She didn't really want much to do with this business. She just kind of liked doing the designs and being a family woman. And so like I think the business really stressed her out. And on top of that, like her psycho husband really messed her up because he was abusing all these people. He was also abusing her, obviously. She was not immune. And so I think it was just kind of the perfect storm. And I don't want to put blame on Lisa Frank, but I also don't want to absolve her of all blame either.
Sure. It's so crazy to see how things can be so good. Like she hires this guy, they hit it off, and then they get married. And then like at what point does he turn crazy?
Yeah.
Is he always crazy and people just ignore it?
I think the thing with abusers is it happens incrementally usually. And so I think it just slowly crept in and she just started relinquishing more and more control. And then suddenly he had an equal stake in her business. And it was like, now he had so much power over her and they had kids together. Like she's not an open person, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So it's hard to know exactly what was going on, but it was just a really messy situation. And not only
sticky fingers.
And not only was Green verbally and emotionally abusing Frank, but he was also cheating on her. Shock. So he was cheating on her with a woman named Rhonda Roulette, who in the office was...
That sounds like a made up name.
It does.
Rhonda Roulette. Take your chance.
Yeah. It totally was. And I think it's pronounced roulette. It's spelled like Rowlett. Maybe it's Rowlett, but I like roulette better.
Roulette better, yeah.
And she was described as Green's right-hand man in the office and like as his like enforcer.
No way.
Yeah. So like him and her were like the evil duo. They were like Team Rocket. And and he used her to enforce his power over the employees. Employees were constantly like berated by Green and then pulled into Rhonda's office, and she would also scream at them. They also had a fun habit of doing coke together at the office.
Heyo.
Apparently they were always like sweaty and paranoid and like looked fucking high, and everyone knew they were fucked up. And Rhonda especially, like you could tell she was fucked up. Like one employee says like one day like she couldn't even fucking stand. Like they were on drugs all the time, and employees like were sent on errands to pick up their drugs. Like would be
no discretion.
No, they just did whatever the fuck they wanted. Employees were told to go to a parking lot, pick up a paper bag from a person, hand them money, and then bring the paper bag back to the office without looking in it. So like obviously they were picking up their cocaine, and then like even less discretion, they were straight up picking up Green's Viagra and porn for him. They knew exactly what that was.
You know, yeah. Lisa Frank is totally dirtied for me now, so thanks.
It's a real bummer. I'm sorry to do this to you.
It's okay.
I literally picked this topic because I was like, oh, this will be fun. Like, and then like she dropped off the face of the earth later because of all these scandals, and so there's like no information about her except for all this shit. So
the people need to know.
Yeah. The fact that Rhonda and Green were having an affair at the office was common knowledge to all the employees.
At the office, in the office, around
everywhere.
The office.
They were always seen together, even on the weekends. And like by 2005, Lisa fully caught on to the affair and filed for divorce. And according to friends and family, she had been a long time looking for a way out because Green was an abusive asshole. And like this was kind of like her excuse. She's like, okay, like there's a reason to do this right now. But this was messy because Green owned almost half the shares, 49%. And so Lisa Inc. was in jeopardy. So as she was divorcing him, Lisa started to go into the office more and more to be more involved because she was pretty much a stay-at-home mom at this point. So she like kind of wanted to show her face. She was starting to collect and hoard legal documents to have against him. And they would get in these big blowout fights at the office because Green had been in charge. And so Lisa would come in and like give direction to a designer. And then Green would charge over there and like scream at the designer that like not to take direction from her, that like he's in charge. And it was just a mess for everyone involved.
I would love that as an employee. Like,
No,
I
you
would
wouldn't.
stay there just to get the tea on their arguments. I would be there for it.
Maybe as someone on the outside, but like they were horrible. Like
My roommate comes home like, you would not believe what happened at work today. I'm like, are they hiring? I used to think I was in denial that I like drama. I don't like to be involved with drama, but I like to witness drama.
yeah, and like if you like to witness drama, this would be perfect for you. But like also like they were involving employees in their drama.
Yeah.
Like James and Rhonda would like pressure people to pick a side. So they would go up to people and be like, okay, like we might be ousted from the company, but we're going to create a new brand. And like, we want you to come work for us so that Lisa is left with no one. Like you need to like choose like us or them. And they were just huge assholes. And then like at the same time, James and Rhonda were doing this shit, Lisa was hiring virtual spies to read her employees' emails and like see what their plans were. So it was literally like this war in the office of like James versus Lisa. They were both crazy. They were both like,
way. This is like evolving into a plot in a TV show.
yeah, it's crazy. Then Green realized he was fighting a losing battle. So he began sabotaging everything that he could. So he stole equipment and files. He stole computers with confidential information. He blocked purchase orders, like just to like fuck with her. He started stealing as many assets as he could, like hoarding them. He was harassing employees and just like screaming at them craziness for no reason. Like he was just wreaking havoc.
Once again, I need to state that everyone should seek out a therapist if you can. I repeat, everyone should see a therapist, whether you've experienced traumatic events in your life or not. Everyone can benefit from talking to someone, especially this Green guy.
Yeah, he needed a therapist desperately. And I don't think he ever got one. So Frank ultimately ended up filing a civil suit and a restraining order against him because to like keep him away from the headquarters. Finally, and luckily she won. She also managed to reinstate herself as CEO and get direction of the board back. But this was like only the first of endless court battles between Lisa, Green, and Rhonda suing each other. Rhonda,
what a name.
Over everything. And these lawsuits went on like at least until 2013. That's the last one I found. Yeah, they were just suing each other over and over again over every little thing, over like personal assets in their marriage, their airplanes, their business, everything.
At what point is the court like, shut
Enough.
the fuck
Yeah,
up?
we don't care. Like, Jesus,
like,
just stop.
just some kids arguing
Yeah.
about their stuff.
It's
just take it outside.
And like, get this, in 2019, Green attempted to evict Lisa Frank Inc. from its headquarters. And he tried to do this after he had like lost all control of the company. And he even sent his sons. Guess how old his sons were?
Oh, probably 30.
No, 13 and 9.
Oh, okay.
He sent his...
I was half right, almost.
He sent his baby sons a written demand to give him consent to take action against their mom's company.
What do the sons even have to do with it? Also, that's
don't know.
extremely unhealthy to involve the children in that way.
He was psycho. Like he was just involving the kids.
And that was last year.
No, it was,
You said it was 2019.
2009. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant 2009.
Oh, okay. So 11 years ago.
11 years ago. So maybe they are 30 now.
I was like, oh my God, really? This is still going?
No, I'm sorry. I'm drunk and tired. So this obviously didn't work. And by 2013, the headquarters that once employed 350 people were down to 6 employees.
Oof.
Things went downhill steadily, and the headquarters no longer is the site of any production of what Lisa Frank does, and what they now produce are only like a few different t-shirt and coffee design mugs that they sell online. Nothing is produced at their factory or their headquarters. And for a limited time, Urban Outfitters sold t-shirts that Lisa had designed, and they also sold her leftover stock from whatever she had when her business went down as vintage school supplies.
Oh my God.
To add
cool.
insult to injury. But like it is cool.
I think it is cool.
And
Yeah, it's like an artifact.
Yeah, and they sold out, but like it is what she was. She was vintage. Her success was over. Her designs fell out of style quickly. And like as they do, like nothing stays in style forever. But like there was like this wave of 90s nostalgia that like Urban Outfitters obviously recognized and took advantage of. But like Lisa Frank as a company, like they never really took advantage of this. And this is probably just due to lack of interest. Like Lisa Frank now stays out of the spotlight. I think she has what she needs and she just doesn't need to really like keep this going and doesn't really have any interest in the business side of things. There are only 2 images of Lisa Frank on the internet.
Whoa.
And whenever a new one shows up, she like fights to have it taken down because of all this scandal. She doesn't want her identity widely known because of her company's horrible reputation. Here's a picture of Lisa Frank.
Whoa, that is not at all what I expected.
What were you expecting?
I thought she was going to be blonde. Yeah, so she's dark brown brunette. She's very thin.
Mm-hmm. She's very angular, but I think she's I think she's really beautiful.
She's appealing to the senses. Yes.
And you can tell that she cares a lot about her appearance. She's obviously had a lot of Botox. Like this picture was taken. She looks like she's maybe in her late 60s, early 70s. And like,
you think so?
Her hair is dyed dark brown. Yeah.
Oh,
she looks old.
I think she looks like she's 40.
She looks like she's 40, but she's not because she's had so much Botox and she dyes her hair. Which there's nothing wrong with that. She's just like, she's very appearance focused. And that's what a lot of people close to her say.
Wait, what year was she born?
1955. She looks amazing. But like, yeah, she's a beautiful older woman. Cares a lot about what she looks like. Don't we all? And she also doesn't do interviews. So she recently granted a rare interview with Urban Outfitters when she launched her line there, but her face was not shown. Like the whole video of her, it's like she's kind of in the shadows and you can see her profile and that's it.
Mysterious.
Yeah, she's very mysterious.
If I wasn't a podcaster and seeking fame, then I'd be the same way.
Maybe we'll have a huge scandal, get famous, and then we can go undercover.
Please. I do not want any scandals in my life.
Yeah, and like so that's kind of how Lisa is now. She's kind of under the radar. She wants to live her life. She doesn't want to be associated with this like craziness from her ex-husband. And as for Green, he was Jewish, but he found Jesus. According to him.
Okay.
And he now sells t-shirts that he designs on his website, jameschristianman.com.
Okay. He's found his market.
Yeah. And
are they good?
No. And his website, I went on his website and he does not appear successful. Those close to James like highly doubt his sincerity and think he's pretending to be a Christian to sell his merch.
Oh.
Yeah. And he like on his website, he has all this like weird poetry and testimonials and like his merch is so ugly. Like, I can't
Christian based
apparel. You. It's like a douchey youth pastor from 2005.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like really bad. Like I have a picture of a snapback here that says salvation, of a picture that says Jesus Savior, and it's like this like Ed Hardy looking Jesus on a cross.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of graffiti-esque, but not.
You'll see when I flip this laptop around. And then there's like this baseball jersey with this like giant patch on it of an anchor. So here you go. It's ugly.
Yeah.
It's real ugly.
It's not good. Anyone could do that.
Yeah. And it's just crazy that he worked at like the top design, like one of the top design firms essentially in the world.
I mean,
for a while.
He slept his way there.
He did.
Maybe.
But like Lisa was the main designer until she hired him. And then he was the designer and hired a team of like, he had a part in designing all those iconic things.
But it was all based after Lisa Frank's
It was based
designs.
after her stuff. Yeah. It's just so ugly. Go to his website if you want to laugh. And guess who's the VP of his new company?
Oh my gosh. One of the Proud Boys.
Rhonda.
Oh, okay.
So kind of.
Proud girl.
Proud girl. Rhonda's the
Rhonda.
VP. And so fuck those people. Like, they completely fucked over Lisa Frank. Like, yeah, maybe Lisa Frank was also not the best, but like they really seem to like have dragged that company through the mud. And yeah, Lisa was definitely flawed and not completely blameless for all this scandal, but ultimately Green was the main culprit. He was an abusive monster and Lisa fell under his thumb. Lisa had dreams of someday opening a Lisa Frank amusement park,
Like Dollywood.
like Dollywood. And at her peak, it seemed possible.
Yeah.
And I'm so sad that
that
never
would have
happened.
been so cool.
I know. I want it so bad.
I'm like feeling emotional about not having
I
it.
know. Don't you want to just like cry thinking about how cool that could have been?
Yeah, it would just be
know.
like sensory overload
Yeah.
in the best way.
Yeah. And it would just bring you back to your youth. Like, it's really sad that that's probably not ever going to be a thing. And Lisa says that the best part of being Lisa Frank was making children happy.
She made lots of children happy.
She made me happy for sure.
Yeah.
I loved her stuff. And that is my lesson about Lisa Frank.
Thank you. I feel so educated now. I would have never guessed. You ready?
Yes. 3, 2, 1. Class dismissed.